This week we are looking at Blessed are the poor in spirit, the first of the Beatitudes taken from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, reading verse 3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So how poor is your spirit? How much would you like to be described as being poor in spirit? Is it really such a desirable quality? I'm not sure if you remember the California wildfires back in January and the devastation and the destruction which they caused. They made me reflect on what it means to be really poor in spirit. 179,000 people were forced to evacuate their homes. There were at least 11 people, if not more, who lost their lives. Around 14,000 buildings were damaged or destroyed over an area of around 25,000 acres. Now, we heard about the homes being worth millions that were reduced to ashes, owned by the likes of Billy Crystal, Paris Hilton, and many others. Now, they were naturally devastated by this loss, because it isn't just the material loss, but the emotional one, which causes so much grief. Those mementos that are irreplaceable, but at least they have their lives. However, these are people whose material worth is greater than anything that we can even pretend to imagine. They will have been insured right up to the hilt, and even if they weren't, they will have the funds to rebuild and restore their lives. They are not going to be left destitute as a result of this. But what about those people we don't know about? What about the folks who were living hand to mouth, who couldn't afford insurance, who kept their savings in a biscuit tin under the bed? We don't know their names, but they were the ones who lost the most. What they lost may not have had the material value, but it was all that they had. To be poor in spirit is to hit rock bottom. It's a place where you can fall no further and you cannot pull yourself out of it. It's a place where there's no social safety net to pick you up. It's a place where you suffer because you cannot afford the medical bills to make you better, and you have no resources to build what you have lost. So the only way out, that's someone else reaching down and lifting you out of the pit. This type of total poverty, it doesn't sound like a good place to be. Certainly not a place you might feel blessed, a place where you think you are anywhere near the kingdom of heaven. But we all have times when we roll down that hill, get covered in mud, land up in a thorn bush, surrounded by angry bees. Well, if not literally, at least figuratively. And what are we going to do then? In our Genesis reading, we meet Jacob at a point in his life when he's fighting a battle he can never hope to win. He's struggling. Does he go to his brother? Does he obey God, or does he run away again? Jacob was very good at running away. He ran away after stealing his brother's inheritance. He then ran away from his father-in-law. And yet here he is, standing on the banks of the Euphrates. Will he stay or will he go? Will he acknowledge that he has run far enough and that he needs to trust God? Or will he stick his tail between his legs and hightail it out of there? So he wrestles with a man all night long. We've all been there, struggling through the night, trying to make a decision, trying to solve a problem, trying to find that way out. But neither the man nor Jacob can win this battle, and one of them needs to concede. And so in the final moments, Jacob's hip is wrenched from its socket, and he recognizes the face of God. It is in that broken state that he finally realises that it is God who he is fighting. And once he's acknowledged his need for God, he's able to go forwards and face Esau, trusting in God's blessing. We are not meant to stay in a place of wretchedness. The point is we need to identify the truth of our poverty. The truth is that without Jesus we have nothing, but that with him we have everything. Our gospel reading today is from another familiar story, the prayers of the Pharisee and the tax collector. And once again we can see that truth which Jesus is communicating. The Pharisee and the tax collector entered the temple equal in the eyes of God, equally sinful, equally broken. The difficulty arose because the tax collector knew it and the Pharisee didn't. And because the tax collector knew he was broken, he was willing to humble himself before God, while the Pharisee, he took the opportunity to glorify himself instead of glorifying God. But all of this comes with a great big qualification. God does not like seeing us broken and despondent. Being broken, being unhappy, that does not make God happy. In fact, it makes God very unhappy. God doesn't want us to be lost in a pit of despair. He wants us to be found in that pit of despair. He wants us to find him, but we can only find him when we look up from our lives and notice that we need him. The word blessed, sometimes translated as happy. Happy are the poor in spirit. It really doesn't make any sense. Happiness is an emotion. It can change with circumstances, the day, maybe even whether we've had coffee or not. We're not happy when we're broken down, when we find ourselves at the bottom of a pit of despair. We're probably very sad. And you know something? That's okay. Blessed would probably be better translated as pleased is God when we hit that point of turning to him. Pleased because we have not acknowledged our need for him. Pleased because we have finally stopped glorifying ourselves, stopped trying to do things alone, and started to trust in him. We're not broken because of some whim of God. It is our self-sufficiency, our arrogance, our go-it-alone attitude which creates a brittle shell, off of which every arrow can bounce. But it needs to be shattered. Shattered so that God can come in and work in us and through us. I had a really interesting conversation recently with a Muslim girl who is exploring her faith and what a belief in God means to her. And she said some very profound things, which are relevant within this topic. She spoke about the people who pray 5 times a day and are very happy to tell everyone about it, whilst being judgmental and unkind towards others, versus her own explorations where she is currently being a Western girl who wears short skirts, goes out drinking with her friends, but loves God and wants to grow a real relationship with him. She described the internal faith versus the external exhibitionism, and how she wanted to be real and genuine and true to herself and her understanding of God, also accepting that as her relationship grew, it may change her external behaviours, but that it had to be a genuine transformation and not just conforming to an image. And this is exactly the message of the tax collector and the Pharisee. The tax collector had faith. He believed that God was in control. He acknowledged his own sinfulness and he asked for help to do better. Whilst the Pharisee was putting an awful lot of effort in being seen to do the right thing, but completely missed the point. So what about you? When you are living in the real world, is it about what you see is what you get? Or is it all fur coat and nae knickers? Are you aware of your dependency on God for everything? Do you live it as well as know it? Are you still trying to fix things yourself, or are you willing to turn to God and trust that His way may be different from what you think? Are you living in a world where you have achieved true poverty of spirit and can be truly thankful that God found you and lifted you up? For when I am weak, and when I am dependent, and when I am dependent, I am strong through Christ. In the words of John Newton, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Amen.